Yukai Chao went from game-addicted loser to game-addicted multimillionaire. Today, he will share how and why he turned life into the ultimate game.
So my 10K HP journey started in 2003, where I was a very heavy gamer playing Diablo 2. And I spent over 1,000 hours leveling my character, getting better gear, getting more gold, when one day I just realized my friends started quitting the game and moved on to other games. So I quit too. And I was in this transitional period between quitting one game and starting another game, and I felt extremely empty. I just felt like, wow, like all this time just disappeared. Like I just made all my in-game characters strong, but in the real world, I was the same loser. So then I started thinking about, well, how can we find a game where people can just leave it whenever they want, and that the more hours we spend on it, the better our real lives are. So I started digging into it, and I started really realizing that the best game that we're playing is the game of life. If I was playing an RPG game as my own life, I wouldn't be just staying in town, being idle, walking back and forth, and watching TV. No, I would go out and kill monsters, level up, get experience, find allies, take on quests, all those things, right? So I realized that everyone was playing this game, but most of my friends, they don't realize that. So I thought, hey, if I could go out early while I was still in high school to go and level up, kill monsters and all that stuff, one day they'll realize that they're playing a game. Maybe after they graduate college, it's like, oh, I'm playing this game, I need to level up my skills now and get experience. At that point, I might be already level 28, which means that I might one day become the strongest player on my server. So I started seeing my life as a game. And what was interesting is that before I had my 10K HP journey, my transition, I was a very mediocre student. I tried to get 90% exactly on all my classes, because getting 90 is like A, getting 91 is still A, 99 is A. So I'm like trying to get exactly 90, because if you get 91, you waste 1 point, right? If you get 99, that's even dumber, right? You're wasting 9 points. That's stupid. So I always try to aim for 90 so I can just go play games, right? And sometimes, or many times, I accidentally dropped down to 88 or 89, and I was like a kind of a B+ student in many ways. But once I started seeing my life as a game, I started becoming good at everything I was doing. I wasn't doing the minimum of things in school, so I somehow transformed into 98, 99% student. And it's not because I was aiming for a high score, I found studying more fun and interesting. I saw it as helping me level up, and I started being very strong in many extracurricular activities. So I went to state competition in swimming, in playing the violin, in debate, in forensics, in chess. We won second place in the state. And I wrote my own string quartet music. I wrote a Chinese novel. I started seeing my life as a game where I'm playing and excelling. And so that allowed me to get into UCLA. Before, my grades weren't qualified to get into UCLA, but transforming my life with the game helped me get in UCLA. Once I got into UCLA, I felt kind of bored, because it's like, well, there's no exciting game to play anymore. And that's when I started my first company in my freshman year at college. And I thought that, hey, starting a company is really like a real-time strategy game, like StarCraft or Age of Empires. It's like you get to choose how you want to play the game, your strategy, what products you're offering, the pricing, if you want to offer good services but less margins, or lower service and build and have a weaker brand. All those are choices you can make, and they all lead to different consequences. They're not like math where, oh, X equals 3 and everything else is wrong. So I got really addicted in running my company and learning and reading business books. I remember when even my classmates were at parties, they're dancing, I was reading a business book, and some of my friends says, hey, can you not read a book, because it's total turnoff seeing that. One thing led to another. I just continued to start building businesses. And by the time I graduated college, I graduated in 3 years, because I was trying to save my parents' college tuition also as an international student. I already convinced other people who lead to quit their full-time jobs to join my company. So I felt I probably shouldn't look for a full-time job. I should probably continue to run my company. So I continued to build companies until the next decade at least. But a lot of them were all surrounding the idea of gamification. How do you apply game design to make productive things more enjoyable? So we had a career development gamified website that won a top 10 social network on Mashable, and we did a gamified restaurant loyalty program. We did gamified leaderboard for social media. We did a variety of things. So then we got to 2012, where I stepped down as the CEO of one of my startups, Reward Me, which we raised a little over $1 million, and we want to gamify the offline restaurant space. And that was the year where I got married, and I was thinking, okay, what should I be doing? And I realized that at that point, there was an industry that was booming up, which they call this gamification. So I'm like, hey, that's basically what I've been doing since 2003. So in the past 9 years, what they were doing was not very sophisticated. They like to just add points and badges onto anything they see, and they call it gamification. And I realized that, wait a second, that's not what makes games fun, right? When you ask people what their favorite games are and you ask why that is, no one will tell you, oh, it's because they gave me points and badges. It's because they had competition, they had strategy, they had some unpredictability, they can play with friends, it's social. So because of that, and because I got married, I started publishing something called the Octalysis Framework, which analyzes how to gamify something, makes things fun. And so that took off really well. In a year, it translated organically into 16 different languages. And I started getting a lot of opportunities to speaker events, consulting, and people started asking me when I'm going to publish my book. So they kept asking me for 2 years. So that's when I published my first book, Actionable Gamification. So some people think I started my whole path when I published my first book, but no, I actually was pretty well known already, and my framework's well known before I published the book, which of course helped also. I did my TEDx talk, which was impactful, and I started doing all this design work. So I built a consulting company called the Octalysis Group over the years, and over time I also launched an education platform called Octalysis Prime, and eventually it led to all the credentials that you see in the introduction or my Wikipedia page. But the key thing is that I was passionate about something. I was passionate about applying game design to make life better since 2003. And at the time, people thought it was crazy. There's no business opportunity. But because I was passionate, I stuck to it. It was my game to play. When you have passion, you have perseverance, and you keep pushing it. And I was just very blessed that over the next 10, 20 years, companies, people, organizations, governments saw that as something very powerful and useful. And they saw me as one of the highest levels playing this game. And so I became what they say a very, very successful consultant and entrepreneur in many of these fields. So I want to be able to transfer that knowledge, that experience to you, to the readers of 10,000 Hours of Play, so that you don't have to spend the 20 years fumbling and tumbling. You can just read a book, apply it to yourself, and then maybe within 1 or 2 years, start aligning your 6 steps, your game, your attributes, your role, your skills, your allies, and your quests together so you can achieve massive success. And through that, you can maybe one day become an OP hero and be known in the history books, just like our OP heroes in 10K HP. So that's a background of my history, my origin story, how I came to be and why I'm so passionately sharing this to you. So hopefully this content of 10K HP will also change your life as much as it mine, and that you can spread it to as many people as possible.
We just launched our Kickstarter campaign where you can get a huge discount to our complete real-life level up system. Click the link below to master the game of life.